Here's the question of the day, if not the question for the decade and the millennium. Where did God come from? Now, whenever this question is asked, it just kicks up a whole hornet's nest of everyone's opinion, and they have all these sorts of opinions flying around and buzzing overhead. But I think the best answer, once given all the evidence, all the available data, is that God came from nowhere. He always was, always is, and always will be. To quote the Lord himself in Revelation 1:8, he said, "I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, who is and who was and who is to come, the Almighty." When the Lord revealed himself for the first time to Moses there in the burning bush, when he commissioned Moses to go and deliver the children of Israel, the Jewish people, from their Egyptian bondage, he gives what I consider to be the most succinct answer to this question. In the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verses 13 and 14, Moses asked the Lord this: "When I come to the children of Israel and say to them, 'The God of your fathers has sent me to you,' and they say to me, 'What's his name?' what shall I say to them?" And the Lord replied, "I am who I am. Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, 'I am have sent me to you.'" Now, in the Hebrew language, the word for "I am" is the Hebrew word hayah, which means existed. God was declaring his independence from everything, absolutely everything, even his independence from space and time itself. And what he is saying is that he has always existed. Or more literally, how we can define this is that given this name, I am, that God is the self-existent one. And what this is saying is that God has no origin or beginning. He simply was when the beginning began. I got to repeat that one. He simply was when the beginning began. This is something totally foreign to our finite and limited mindset. Because in our mind, or as the way in which we think, for something to exist, it must have been created. But God was never created. He always was. Now, in our minds and according to our way of thinking, whatever exists must have had a cause. But again, nothing caused God. Therefore, besides being self-existent, God is self-caused. Now, humanity, unfortunately, is quite uncomfortable with this whole idea of God being self-existent and self-caused. Because not only does that make God someone that is beyond our ability to comprehend, but also it makes God completely independent of humanity. Therefore, God isn't dependent upon any of us for his being. So, how can we possibly benefit from this little piece of theology today about God being self-existent and self-caused? Well, in the beginning, when we were created, when humanity was created, God said that he made us into his image and into his likeness. And what this means is that we are completely and totally dependent upon God for our existence. And thus we are to seek him out. We are to seek him out on how we are to live our lives in this world and beyond. But such a search must be by faith or through faith. And this is what the writer of Hebrews came up with in chapter 11, verse 6. He said, "Without faith, it's impossible to please him. For he who comes to God must believe that he is, and he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him." There it is, right there. There it is. He is. God is. Therefore, we can agree with the Apostle Paul when he describes our dependent relationship upon the Lord God in Acts 17:28, when he said, "In him we live and move and have our being." If, however, we get to that point that we stop believing in God, or say that God doesn't exist, or that God has been created by humanity and thus has a cause, then basically what this means is that we are lost. We are lost and we have no purpose or reason for our existence. Therefore, to answer the question as to where does God come from? The answer is, He is. He is the great I am. He is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. He is the one who always has been, who always is, and who always will be there and will come. So He truly is the self-existent one. Thanks for taking this time and listening. Take care, be safe, and God bless.